Hello, everybody. Welcome to the new PoArtMo podcast. I'm your host, David Ellis, and we also have my co host, Cendrine, with us. And
Hello.
today we're going to talk about. Hello there, Cendrine. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. And so happy to be here with this brand new format for our
Hmm.
show. We used to have a video show that we promoted on Facebook and now Facebook Live, and now we are on Discord where we are starting out a brand new podcast episode every month. And today we're looking to discuss different areas of our aspects of Auroras and Blossoms. You know, we're a kind of inspirational, positive platform that is involved in a lot of different positive art forms. But Sandrine has come up with a very intriguing query that we wanted to deal with today, and that was specifically in relation to how do you determine whether something is a piece of positive art or not, whether it is. We allow submission of lots of different things in relation to positive art. We have flash fiction, non-fiction, short stories, six-word stories, poetry, and we have all these different kind of sort of mediums. We also allow photography, paintings, drawings, many different kind of sort of bits and pieces that we allow onto our platform. And we've had some people submit to us, and they've been a little bit kind of unclear as to what positive art means. So what I'd like to do, is to pick Sandrine's brains, and then I'll also give my own interpretation of what I believe positive art to be. So, Sandrine, what do you think positive or inspirational art is, and what sort of topics can people cover when they're actually submitting to us Auroras and Blossoms with the positive art?
As you mentioned, David, quite a few people are kind of hesitant when they submit to us because they're not sure what we mean by positive. I'll start with by telling you about several emails that we've received lately about people who were wondering, for example, have a piece about grief, have a piece about cancer. And I'm not sure if that would work as a submission to you, if you would accept it or not. We accept pieces like that. If it's grief, if it's cancer, anything difficult you've gone through. The only thing we don't accept is erotica in politics. The reason is that we are a family friendly platform, which means that we want to make sure that kids, any age, can read or look at the art that we promote. First of all, let's talk about the definition of what is positive art. Positive art is art that has a good impact, a good effect, that gives hope to people. That's basically what it is. So if you have a piece about grief, but for example, you learned something about that grief that taught you a lesson about life, that taught you to be optimistic, about being confident. It taught you to prepare yourself for another situation, and you can reuse that lesson to grieve better. That's what we're talking about positive. When we talk about positivity, we also talk about inspiration at Auroras and Blossoms. And inspiration really is something that gives you enthusiasm to create something, that is an invitation, an encouragement to do something differently, to go back to the piece about grief. If you can share that lesson that you learned about that specific situation, that would encourage people to grieve better as well. That's exactly what we're talking about when we talk about positivity and inspiration. Anything that can encourage the reader, encourage the viewer to feel better about themselves, to say, you know what, I went through that, and now I have better tools to deal with grief.
That's a very detailed, extensive answer, Sandrine. Thank you very much. Ultimately, I see it as if someone, for example, incorporates grief into a story. Let's say, for example, you might have somebody that has a loved one that's died, and perhaps they could be telling them something or giving them advice from wherever they are up on high, and giving them the a kind of either a message or a kind of inspirational message of positivity, or something to allow them to have learned something about life experience, and something that ends on a positive note, because we know that when you write stories, you want to write motivating kind of sort of things when it comes to poetry or stories specifically. when it comes to grief in your life, whether it be loss of a pet or a loved one or someone very close to you. And I think that you can incorporate those elements. You know, when we talk about positivity and inspiration, I feel like it's there's a lot of scope there. We're not trying to be restrictive. We're trying to be specific, but I think that you have a hell of a lot of scope when it comes to being able to work with a variety of themes and topics and ideas and channel that into a positive message. And if you can put that into as an underlying message of the written kind of pieces, then that it might be something where we learn something about yourself. You don't want to confuse the positivity or inspiration message with a nostalgia message. You can write about something nostalgic, but that in itself isn't positive. Like if you write about how you used to enjoy a certain bubblegum flavour, or where you used to grow up, you had a video store or something you used to go to, you really need to incorporate some sort of human element there to say, well, why did you enjoy that so much? Is it because you had an experience there that was positive, that was inspirational? And if you can then incorporate that into the written areas, that takes care of the positivity in that sort of respect. When it comes to art itself, when we talk about drawings, paintings, pictures and things, again, we're very flexible when it comes to the material that is being, or the inspiration behind it. It's just that if you just have, say, a photograph of of the sea, of the ocean, or something like that, that's a bit too plain. It might be beautiful in itself, but again, we're not trying to put across the message where positivity itself isn't just going to be something that's beautiful or magnificent or wonderful. It needs to be combined with some other human element. So a picture of the ocean, for example, if it contained a lot of different people on boats or fishing, or the landscape where you see lots of animals or things, something where you're going to be moved by the actual art itself, I think is where we're going with the positivity. And it's the same with drawings or paintings. The best drawings or paintings are the ones that capture the human condition, the human elements, and they can be about sorrowful things. You might have painted, again, if we use an example, you know, a former pet that's passed away, or a loved one, or a former lover that you've had that you might have lost, or some other form of grief that you're trying to put into your work. But if you can find a way to express that in as much that it's contains a human element, but it makes you look at something and just think, wow, this is a catharsis that I'm getting from this. You know, it's an experience that I'm going through, but at the same time, there's a positive message at the end of it that despite everything that's happened to this person, they've still come out. They come out in such a way that it's more inspirational because of the message that they're trying to put across with on an visual nature or in a written nature. So ultimately, that's what we mean by positive art when we talk about inspiration and positivity, is that you can have so many different variety of things, but it's trying to take that as well. It may not even be something that's negative, as Cendrine spoke about before, about the loss of grief. It could just be something that's quite plain. But I think you need to try to direct it in some specific direction. So, for example, if you took a picture of the snow, wouldn't be interesting, but then if you combined it with other human elements, like I say, with the animals, with the landscape, with the shape of the clouds or something, then that's where you'll find the key to unlocking the way to submit stuff to us at Auroras and Blossoms that we would actually find very, very kind of positive and inspiring.
One piece of advice I would give someone who is trying to find a way to be inspirational and to share a story that leaves a mark in the reader's mind, try to think of it that way. If I were the reader, if I were the viewer, what would I want? It's very important for you to try and picture someone. It can be a fictional character, it can be a name, it can be anything. Try to picture someone in your mind. Write for one person, just for one person. And I can guarantee you that the type of person you're writing for will feel that vibe when they read you. Because I've done it for my own writing, I've done it for my own art. I create with specific people in mind, and most of the time the type of people I create for react to my art. So that's usually a piece of advice I give to all the artists who are looking for a way to be inspirational and positive and to have the kind of impact that changes people's perceptions, and it works in most cases.
That's really lovely, Cendrine. And we have multiple submission calls on at the moment. We no longer focus on our magazine, but we have anthologies that we've got specifically open for the variety of positive art that we want to see from people. We have something called PoArtMo that we launched last year, and we launched our successful first anthology with it last year. And we're running the whole thing again this year to the end of the year. So we're really, really eager to see some entries across a wide variety of art types and vehicles. We have a 13 to 16-year-old version of PoArtMo that we've got open at the moment, and children can actually submit one piece to that particular one for free. Adults have to pay to enter the adult version of PoArtMo. And finally, we also have one other anthology as well that we have available that is specifically relating to short stories and flash fiction. It's called Written in a Flash Anthology, and that one again follows our mantra of looking for positivity. So if you can provide positive stories to us, as we've explained, I just think it's such a, you don't want to ever feel afraid of submitting to us. By all means, send us a query, an inquiry, and to find out whether you think we should, if you think we can deal with your particular story. But in our frequently asked questions, we have a frequently asked questions section, and it's very extensive, and it does cover all of the topics that you might come up with, all the kind of sort of issues that you might come up with when it comes to submitting your art. And as I say, we're very flexible when it comes to topics. It's just simply erotica and politics that we don't allow. As Cendrine said, because of the family-friendly nature of the anthologies and our platform, but also because we don't want to offend anybody. We want to remain neutral and keep things very much kind of sort of a neutral basis, where we don't favour one particular thing or the other. And our anthologies, we're very, very kind of welcoming to new artists and people that are starting things off in their career, because we aren't trying to be difficult when it comes to other magazines that they've been published by or places they've submitted to. If you've got something that we think is positive and inspirational and you want to send it to us, you don't need to feel intimidated that you're sending it to a publisher like ourselves, because we will not judge you based on all of your previous qualifications or previous magazines that you've been published by. We want to see fresh art from you that is done to the best of your ability and really kind of sort of moves people and is positive and inspirational in some way, shape or form or another.
Yeah, it's important for you to be confident when you contact us. We are unique in the sense that we do not care who you are, where you come from, what you do. What we're looking for is inspirational and positive art. And of course, what is important to us is also the way you portray yourself, the way you communicate with us. That's an important part. When you consider yourself an inspirational and positive artist, it has to be a whole, which means that if your art is fantastic, but your attitude is not as fantastic because, for different reasons, we look at that as well when we consider submissions. But we never, as David said, we never consider where you've been published. If it's your first time being published, by all means, send us your work. Don't be afraid of sending us anything, as long as you follow our guidelines. And to go back to what we were talking about in terms of inspiration and positivity, there are 3 questions that we ask you to ask yourself before sending us a piece about your stories or your art. The first question is, how does the story help others? The second question is, how does the story open people's minds? And the third question is, does the story or what I provide bring a better understanding of the situation I am describing? If you can answer those questions, you're very likely to be accepted with us, really. But once again, it's very important that your work fits your attitude and vice versa.
Absolutely, Cendrine. Thank you very much for clarifying that. As we say, it's just we're very, very friendly, very, very approachable. We try to think that we are inspirational and positive people ourselves in everything that we do, everything we see and do, and we try to be very, very kind of motivational to anybody that approaches us. We love good attitude and positive attitude from people, people that are really kind of sort of inspired and fired up to use their art for motivational ways to make people feel better, especially in this the way we're just getting over the whole situation with this pandemic, and we want to keep people's spirits up, keep people motivated, keep people happy, and keep people focused. And above all, we want more submissions to our platform, because we feel like we've done lots of tweaks on our platform to make things as easy as possible for people. We don't try and make it difficult for yourselves. We're trying to make it so that you are very inspired yourselves to submit to us, and we will give you a fair judgment when it comes to when the submissions that you send through to us. So please, take a look. We're open all year round for our submissions. We also have books and journals. We have workbooks and journals where we can give you better ways to market yourself and promote yourself as an artist. So it's something that we're building upon constantly. We have projects that we work through PoArtMo. We have something called the PoArtMo Collective. And with that, we have art projects that we've got on there that have tons and tons of wonderful things that have emerging of art and photography and writing and poetry and stories as well. So that's a wonderful thing to check out. So all I think is really there for me to say is that if you want to submit to us, our domain is abpositiveart.com, and it's abpositiveart.com/submit to be able to find the submissions page. But if you go to the general homepage, you'll see all the wonderful things that we do at Auroras and Blossoms, and all of the wonderful opportunities that we have for you that are available for you.
Perfect. On that note, we want to thank you very much for listening to the show. Talk to you again very soon. Have a great night. Bye.
Thank you. Have a great night.